Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. Today's video I'm very excited for because I'm going to be chatting through what I think is rather important. That's right, today I'm going to be chatting through some underrated fantasy reads. Obviously, I read and review a lot of fantasy on this channel over the years, many of which are very hyped and popular. Some of them become popular later, but there's always like a selection of titles that I look at longingly that I absolutely adore and wish more people will check out. I truly feel like all of the books I'm about to show off today, I do not understand why they're not more popular than they are currently. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. Starting off with a series that is not only by one of my personal favorite fantasy writers, but also like one of the most popular currently relating fantasy writers today, and that is the Divine Cities trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett. The first one being The City of Stairs. This trilogy is incredible. It's also the first books I ever read by this author, and this is by the same author who released the Tainted Cup and the Foundry Side series, also books that I adore immensely. But this trilogy also just holds a special place in my heart because it has such an interesting mix of plot and characters, and every book also sort of acts as a standalone while also building on the larger concepts and themes of the series. To take a step back, I would describe this as a fantasy political thriller series. It essentially centers spies, but within a fantasy landscape. Long ago, before the start of this novel, there was once a very powerful empire called Bulakov. And this empire was so powerful because they were able to wield the power of the gods. But one day, one of the countries that they subjugated for generations rose up, fought back, and killed off the gods, creating a situation called the Blink, where suddenly infrastructure, government, entire cities disappeared within the blink of an eye, resulting in this once powerful empire to fall completely into chaos. And now this country that was once subjugated by the Bulakov Empire is in charge. And that is sort of the landscape that all three books in this trilogy take place in, but it centers different cities and also has different main characters book over book. In book one, we're introduced to our main character, Shara, and she is a government agent sent to a large city in the Bulakov Empire to basically root out any unrest, specifically surrounding religion, more so because there's rumors that the gods might be coming back. We see her as she moves through different political scenarios. It's all very intense and very intriguing. The thing is about this series is not only does it center like vast conspiracy, murder, intrigue, and a plot that will truly not let you go, but more than that, I really appreciated how the author centers not only its main characters, who are incredibly dynamic and human, but also the themes of government versus people and what the reality of policy implementation can mean for the everyday person. And I just really felt like there was a great macro and micro perspective in this sort of geopolitical landscape that this series takes place in. It is so good. If you love spies and conspiracy set in a fantasy landscape, this is the series for you. It's amazing. Speaking of conspiracy, the next book I have to recommend is The Traitor Commerant by Seth Dickinson. This is another book that will definitely get you thinking and also horrify you. If you like fantasy novels that more so center like political intrigue versus like hand-to-hand combat and war, this is such a fantastic series. Like if your favorite character in Game of Thrones was Tyrion Lannister, you have to pick this book up. Again, we are following another massive and all-powerful empire that subjugates and absorbs other lands. And that is how we're introduced to our main character, Baru Commerant, who as a young child, she witnesses this empire come to the shores of her homeland, destroy it from the inside out, taking over its economy, destroying its culture and religion, enforcing its own societal beliefs to basically do a slow takeover one day at a time. And from a young age, Baru Commerant decides on vengeance. She declares that she will do anything to destroy this empire from the inside out. This series centers a very ruthless main character that will stop at nothing to achieve her end goal, which is honestly something very fascinating to read. We witness Baru as she enters the empire's schooling system, works her way up, and then ultimately receive a powerful government position. And then from there, her plans begin to unfold. This is all about what is said and the unsaid, backroom deals, how culture and the economy are tools for imperialism, but also can be used against the empire itself. This is described for fans, perfect of those who thrive on fantasy with Machiavellian overtones, and I feel like that's a perfect descriptor for this book. It's very much a slow burn with such fantastic and delicious politics. Baru as a main character is amazing as well. She roots the story so well, and I never know like what decision she's exactly going to make, but I always know I'm going to be shocked by it in a very satisfying way. Like seeing the slow coming together of all of her plans and all the different threads that she's pulled throughout the entire plot and story of each installment is just so good. I would be absolutely duped over and over and over again by Baru Commerant, and that's why I love her as a main character, and this series is just truly amazing. The next book I have to recommend is actually a sci-fi release, and again by one of my favorite authors, and that is The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez. This book has under 10,000 reviews on Goodreads, and I honestly feel like that is just plain wrong. Simon Jimenez's writing is just immaculate. Not only beautiful in a way that will captivate you and pull you in, so the themes and characters carry such weight and impact that it's truly just the perfect blend of things. I would also describe The Vanished Birds as a really interesting mix of literary fiction and sci-fi. It has the character exploration and like deep well of thought surrounding like what it means to be human and alive that I often really appreciate in works of literary fiction, but also has the stakes, action, adventure of a sci-fi novel, creating such a wonderful blend of things, and also why it's one of my favorite books I've read so far this year. This story introduces us to our main character, Nia, and Nia is a ship captain. She basically ferries goods and passengers across space and time, but this results in her basically losing large gaps of time at a time, meaning every time she takes on a new job, she is further and further removed in time and space from the ones that she loves most. One day, Nia and her crew come across something unexpected. That is a lost orphaned boy whose only means of communication is through a battered flute, and from there an unlikely element of found family is formed and they all begin to travel together. Structurally, this book is told first in the chapters following Nia, her crew, this young boy, as he becomes settled into this new life. We learn not only about Nia's past, but also this boy's history and past as well. But interspersed amongst those sort of like present day chapters, we also get these chapters that sort of provide like immense scope for this sci-fi world and all of the characters that are living within it. These chapters bridge a huge swath of time and kind of give like larger sci-fi context from this like very intimate family story happening on this spaceship. We follow characters from planets far and wide. We follow characters living on Earth well before we're even traveling within space. And all of these different threads ultimately come together to create a very interesting tapestry and experience. And again, creating such interesting like sci-fi stakes and action. Truly, Simon Jimenez can do no wrong in my book. His writing style is luscious and beautiful. His concepts are so impactful, and I just love his stories so much. Next up is an urban fantasy romance release, or let's just say romantasy release, that I feel like more people need to be reading, and that is The House at Watch Hill by Karen Marie Moning. Obviously, this author is very, very well known in the urban fantasy romance space, but this is her newest series, and when I checked Goodreads, again, another release with under 10,000 reviews. I feel like Book Talk should be eating this up, and also I feel like it has all of the classic trappings that I personally enjoy in my romance fantasy writing, which has a lot to do with romantic pacing. And this book has everything you would truly want within a steamy urban fantasy story. We got multiple male leads that all have various accents that make them even more attractive. They're burly, they're tall, they're strong. There's interpersonal drama, lots of secrets being kept. But to take a step back, this follows our main character Zoe. And Zoe is currently in a tough spot in life, which is why she was very surprised when she received a call from a lawyer letting her know that she received an unexpected inheritance. But to receive it, she has to essentially move to this very small town. Having no other ties in her life, she decides to check it out, and she comes to find out that this inheritance is not only an enormous sum of money, but also this massive mansion within this small town. But there are a lot of rules and stipulations for her to actually receive this inheritance, one of them being she has to live in this house alone for 3 years. And even though the rules are quite strange, she jumps at the chance anyway and moves in, but quickly realizes that there's something quite weird going on with not only this town, but also this house and all the mysterious figures that seem to be surrounding it. This book is full of like small town drama, again, secrets, and lots of different supernatural figures to enjoy. The pacing is also great. I feel like the push and pull is there, but there's just enough hot people to go around, which is what we like to see. This is the perfect mix of like a little bit of horror, fall vibes and atmosphere, and again, romantic urban fantasy. It's truly a blast, and I can't wait for book 2. And again, I'm just surprised more people are not reading this. Next up is a new release by, again, one of my favorite authors who just in general, I feel like is really underappreciated in the fantasy community. And that is Grave Empire by Richard Swan. I talk about Richard Swan a lot, and I would stop if more of y'all finally committed to reading his books. No, but actually, I just really appreciate his combination of characters, politics, and horror within his fantasy stories. The combination is just so entertaining every single time. Grave Empire is the first book to a brand new series, and I would say you can read either The Empire of the Wolf, the first one being The Justice of Kings, or Grave Empire in any order that personally calls out to you. There's not direct spoilers for the other series, if that makes sense. Moreover, I also feel like Grave Empire has even more horror elements to enjoy. So if that's a genre point you are personally excited by, I would for sure check this one out. But of course, this book is set in an empire, and we're about to enter a new age of exploration and innovation. But of course, there are still some age-old problems that it's encountering too, from enemies at their borders, desires for expansion, and also internal unrest, which is where we find our main characters. The first main character we follow is a young man who has just bought a military officer position to make his family happy. He just plans to serve for a couple of years and then go on with the rest of his life, but unlucky for him, he was assigned to the far reaches of the empire. To make matters worse, everyone in the fort is hearing screaming in the woods every single night, and nobody knows who or what are making these sounds, but unfortunately it's up to our main character to find out. The other main character we follow is a young woman who works in an ambassador's office, and due to a series of events, her and her mentor basically have to set out on a very quick and unexpected mission to go on a diplomatic mission to basically get the help of a faraway empire. And there's all different types of trials and tribulations we witness over the course of this journey. This book has not only one, fantastic characters you will love immediately, but two, lots of scary things happening behind the scenes. There's just a great mix of like rompy fantasy fun with eerie, spooky horror elements like perfectly mixed into the entire thing as well. I loved book 1. It was an easy 5-star reads for me, and I cannot wait for the next installment. Honestly, at this point, I feel like I should just rename this video to Books by Popular Authors That More People Need to Read Because They're Less Popular Than Their Most Popular Series, but that's a bit of a mouthful. Because the next book I have to talk about is The Killing Moon by N.K. Jemisin. Beloved not only by me, but also the masses, and for good reason, because N.K. Jemisin is a master in fantasy writing. Every book of hers I have read, I have quite literally loved, and I would describe The Killing Moon as her take on vampires. It's a very unique world and setting that also captivated me from page 1. This is set in an ancient empire where peace rules above all, and the way that the empire maintains this peace is they essentially have individuals roam the rooftops at night who are magic users who can see into the dreams of the populace, and they essentially sift through these dreams, imparting either more peace or, when they feel necessary, removing them from society altogether. But when a conspiracy sort of rocks this ancient empire, it throws a few of our main characters in a very chaotic situation, one of our main characters being one of these rooftop walkers. This book moves so quickly. It also brings together some very unexpected characters. I also always feel like N.K. Jemisin has such interesting magic systems that clearly feel inspired by something that is well known, but she always puts such a unique twist on things. I also really appreciate her dialogue and how she centers things like power, particularly power wielded by government. Her themes and her topics are always something I really enjoy, and this was such an amazing book, and the first book to a duology that I also plan to finish before the end of the year. And then the last two books I have to show off are both from the same author, and that is Between Two Fires and The Black-Tongued Thief by Christopher Bowman. Christopher Bowman, I feel like, is quite popular within the horror space, like in the general bookstore world, but I also feel like I never see him talked about on the online bookish space, and I could be wrong about that, but in general, I just want more fantasy readers to read his books because they're just amazing. Like, if you love Joe Abercrombie, if you loved The Devils, you have to read Christopher Bowman because he's serving up a lot of the same things that I love from Joe Abercrombie within his own books, and they're also very original and also scarier. The first book I would mention is Between Two Fires, which is a medieval horror quest-centered story where we're following first a brutal knight offered one final chance at salvation, a troubled peace and the last survivor of his parish who is drowning his sorrows in wine, and lastly, a young girl orphaned by the Black Death who begins to hear the voices of angels. They have to take a journey together to save the world. It's full of found family and great camaraderie, but again set in a devastating and harrowing landscape that Christopher Bowman will never let you forget, you know? It's funny and terrifying, which is such a hard line to walk. Similarly, we have The Black Tongue Thief, which is also horrifying and hilarious. In it, we follow our main character who is a thief and is just graduated from like the Thieves Guild and has a lot of debt because of this. So he decides to do what any newly minted thief would do, and that is rob people. But unfortunately for him, he picked the wrong mark. Try to rob our other main character, Galva, who is a knight just coming back from a very brutal war. And after this, due to a variety of surprising circumstances, they're now going out on a quest together. This book is so funny. And again, fantastic character work, bringing together very unlikely figures who now have to work alongside each other with great fantasy writing, great horror writing. It's just a wonderful mix of things. If you love a quest story, like Christopher Bowman is for you because he has two amazing options that are both 5 out of 5 star reads for me. Alrighty guys, those are some books that I feel like are criminally underrated and I want more people to read. Let me know down below some fantasy books that you feel like need more hype, need more buzz, because I am very curious, but I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye.